My experience is if you take a job and you work within the legal limit of 20 hours per week, I think you can take care of your food and grocery, and depending on where you live, if you are open to sharing apartment or room with somebody, you can manage your living costs, but you cannot pay your fee. It's very expensive. So if you're coming without a scholarship, you need to make sure that you have to pay your fee from somewhere else, like a student loan or maybe your savings. But yes, once you're here, maybe bring 2-3 months of expenses. But then once you find a job, whether it's delivery or other jobs, as long as you're close to the minimum wage and you work 20 hours a week, I think with a very decent moderate lifestyle, you can manage your living costs. Budgeting myself, and I never did this in Pakistan because I was an editor. I was earning, like, I was in the top 5% maybe. I would never look into my pocket or my bank account before going to a grocery shop. I would just swipe my card without even looking at prices. Here it's very different because coming from a country where the currency is like 250 times smaller, it makes a big difference. My monthly expense varies somewhere between 150 pounds to 200 pounds, but that's just the transport, grocery, and all kind of like mobile phone bills, etc. It does not include rent, which my scholarship stipend takes care of. It doesn't include fee. Even that is very, very basic because I don't really go for like eating out too often, and I cook meals that are very easy to cook, like you can just cook within few minutes because cooking at home saves you a lot of money. And I don't say that I know some students even starve because it can get very difficult. It's very expensive here, but I didn't have to starve or didn't have to skip meals. I didn't do that because I thought within 150 pounds you can easily make things at home, and you can eat 3 times a day. It doesn't make a big difference, and you don't have to worry about being malnourished or underfed. So 150 pounds is enough. And that can be cut because there was one month when I was really cutting down on my expenses. I think it was first or second month when I spent the entire month on 110 pounds, I think. So depending on how much you are willing to because as I'm in a delivery business, I'm carrying foods from all over the world, and they smell so tempting, and you really crave for them sometimes. But then at the end of the day, okay, you have to cook something at home and you have to go and eat that. You don't want to spend money because you're saving. And it also has to do with whether you are a bachelor or married and what your plans are. My case is a bit different. I have a wife and kids. I'm hoping that they will join me soon here in London. So I have to keep saving, not just for myself and for them as well, because once they arrive, obviously then I can't live like that, cutting my expenses like that, because there'll be 3 more members. Well, the last 2-3 years were tough before coming here, like 2018, 19, 20, because in those 3 years inflation shot up 40%, and in journalism industry in Pakistan, people were losing jobs, they were getting pay cuts. My income shrank about 30-40%, and then on top of that 40% inflation, so you can say it halved actually compared to 5 years ago. But still it was enough to run my family's expenses. I would still end up saving a few thousands, and my wife was also working, and her entire salary would go to our savings because she didn't have to spend anything. Coming here, what I've noticed is journalism, my understanding is it doesn't really pay well unless you have a decent amount of experience and you are on somewhere in the middle management position, or maybe top position, or you are a top rated TV anchor, somebody like that, or a large YouTuber. For reporting jobs, starting your career, especially 2-3 years, it pays the same everywhere, like very close to living costs and all. So initially I tried, but the problem was a couple of jobs that screened me and interviewed me, they wanted me full time, and I could not do it because of my studies. So I thought, okay, this is not going to work, and I couldn't find many freelancing opportunities like the one I'm doing right now. If it came last year, I might have been doing only that, not just it. So then I decided, okay, I need something else, need to do something else, because I can't do journalism job with my studies and the legal visa restrictions. So I kept applying for many jobs. The delivery job was there. They were hiring. Their ad was showing up constantly on the job websites and on my timeline, but I didn't really consider it because I thought it may not be something suitable for me, especially being at 40 years of age. So when I didn't find other jobs, and I gave a trial at a restaurant, and I thought the job was tough, so I decided to give it a try, and I sort of liked it, and it was paying me enough, like above the living wage. So that's why I ended up doing this. Well, as with every job, there's a positive side and there's a negative side, like pros and cons. Coming into this job, I was very, very excited for multiple reasons. I thought, okay, my belly was coming out, I was putting on weight, so I'd be cycling to sort of get fit, and what a better way to do it while being paid. Secondly, because of the COVID, you have spent a lot of time indoors, so this was a job that offered you an opportunity to just cycle around London. I thought it's a good way to sort of understand how to navigate around London, understand the streets, and my expectation was right. I enjoyed it, and also I had this fascination because I come from Pakistan, where you really crave for cycling, but you can't do it. It's so dangerous. People don't drive it. The driving is so dangerous, unsafe. There is no infrastructure that supports cyclists, just like here. Looks like the city belongs to the cyclists here. So I sort of, from day one, I had this fascination. Okay, I would like to ride a bicycle across London one day. And when this job came, so all the boxes were checked, like opportunity to ride bicycle in London, getting fit while being paid, and staying outdoors. What I did not anticipate was initially, because when I started in February, I was signed up in January, but started delivering in February, so it was very cold. So that was really the downside of it, because I wasn't prepared for that, coming from a hot weather country. So it was very cold, very tough, and there was a day when I had to deliver at like close to zero, even sub-zero temperature. It was very tough, but they give you proper gear. But obviously you have to they guide you. They also make you go through some tests where they make you understand the potential dangers working in those conditions, and you have to pass that training. That is mandatory. Plus there were storms, as you remember, Storm Franklin, Eunice, and unfortunately the way it works is you have to sign up for your shifts. You give your availability in advance, so you don't know what the weather will be like a week after that. So if I know today, for example, if the open shift comes, I know the weather is bad, it's up to me I want to work or not if it's an open shift. But when I've given my shift, I'm assigned a shift. Now it looks bad if I back off. So in both those storms, my shifts was there and I had to go, and it was really horrible delivering food in those storms. But the company realized very soon, and they paused operations, and they asked us to go somewhere safe, take refuge, and when it passed, they resumed operation, and we were paid while we were on a break. So that was the good thing. So these conditions can make it difficult. It is not a kind of job that I'm pursuing or thinking that I'll do long term. This is the side job, and it's very student friendly, because if you tell them that in a particular week you have some assignments coming or you have a project due, you don't want to take any shifts, they're okay with that. And then it's a good money for students. Cycling a few hours, making some quick bucks, not a bad option actually. The regular shifts is when you give availability in advance, and you just tell them these are the hours I'll be available, and they'll assign you a shift within those timings. So it's very flexible in the sense that I can choose the hours where I know I will not be busy, I can commit, and within those hours you'll get a shift. So open shifts is when you don't give any shifts or they don't give you any shift. So but all of a sudden there's a demand for riders, they need more riders, so it will pop up in the app that okay, in these hours there's some open shifts available, and if you think it is suiting you, you don't have any other commitment and you want to work, you can sign up and then you go. It pays the same, but the difference is basically if you give availability and they assign you a shift, you're committed. Open shift, you have flexibility till the very last minute. For example, if a shift is starting like an hour from now, I have the flexibility to decide whether I want to work or not. Sometimes can be tough in the sense that, for example, if it's too cold and well, that I can say it's the nature of the work, because the company says whenever you need a break, you can just pause and take a break no obligation, you can go to washroom and do that. And then all the restaurants they work with, you are allowed to use their toilets, but sometimes you're getting order one after the other, and then there's this temptation, if it's a peak hour, you just want to hold, okay, I don't want to waste time, I'm making money. So it can get tough, like you just, and what I do is, and that's the downside of this job, like I stop drinking water like 2 hours before my shift, especially if it's too cold, because I know I don't want to go pee and waste time, like when I can, make money. So this can be tough at times. Well, again, this is the nature of the work. There's no restriction, unlike in many jobs that I've heard, like you just are really pressed. When I was very new to this job, by the first few weeks, it took a while for me to figure out how things work here, like navigating and finding addresses. Sometimes you have exact same address, but the building name is different or building number is different. So once I went to like it was, say for example, apartment number 23, the pin took me to the location, but there were 2 buildings. I just read, okay, the apartment number 10 to 23 in this you can get through this door. So I followed it, and first I was pressing I was calling the apartment, it didn't open the door, and I was frustrated, why is he not opening the door, I'm delivering his order. So somebody came, so he opened the door for me. I went up and I knocked his door. He was just yelling at me, and I said, why, what's wrong with this guy? He ordered it, I'm delivering food, he's yelling at me. He was just saying the F word. And then there were a couple of guys standing. I asked them that, see, this is the situation, he's not opening the door, and I'm now afraid because he has yelled at me and he is now shouting out very loud. Then they asked me what address is that. I showed them I said, it's the next building. Then I went to the next building, and I told the lady that this has happened. She was laughing and she said, oh, this can happen. And she said, I was wondering because I saw you on the app that you arrived and it's been 5 minutes, you've not really rung the bell. So this is what was going on. Things like that, these happen sometimes. Yeah, and sometimes people give you good tips, but that happens very rarely. I don't know why. I want more tips. So once a guy gave me like £4, and I was very happy because that was a good tip. And sometimes you don't get, sometimes people don't even say thanks. That's also very rare. Usually people are very appreciative. They just thank you and they greet you as well. For example, if I were not on a scholarship, I would say that I would very much depend on this. And since I'm in the process of finding jobs in my own field, I'm giving interviews like back to back. So I'm very hopeful of finding a job pretty soon, and then I'll perhaps quit this one. But I think it will be tough for me if I think about doing this as a full-time job. It may still pay me above living wage, which should be enough to sort of meet the expenses of my family, but it would be like too much hard work, like cycling 6, 7, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, be very tough. So my observation is majority of the couriers that I come across are young people. I think they are very temporary into this, and they have I don't know their numbers, but every few days there is some orientation going on where they're inducting new guys, which means some old guys are leaving. So that shows the churnout is high, because as I said, I'm looking for a job. If I get a good job, if within my own profession, obviously I would prefer something that's more like office based and it uses my experience as a journalist rather than delivering food, which doesn't really uses my brain. It's not a skilled job, anybody can do that. Even if you find some job that pays along the same lines or maybe a bit less, but you are working for, like for example, a superstore or a restaurant, working in a closed kitchen, maybe you prefer that, okay, why not go out and do cycling. But then again, it depends. I think for part-time jobs it's a good option, it's a very good option. Looking at full-time, I don't think, at least I would not do it full-time.